Welcome. Thank you for joining us on this January 21st, 2024, Pathways in Light. Tonight we're going to cover the topic of why forgiveness is forgiving. Forgiving. We're going to take it from the different levels on very practical levels. If someone stepped on your toe and you're going to wish them well or tell them it's okay, to the very esoteric levels of why, when we are forgiving, we are reaching into the heavens. Actually, where there is no forgiveness needed in that space and place of our spirit and our souls. But to reach that place of non-judgment and unconditional love, we have to go through our steps of letting go of all our grievances and upsets. So I'd like to start with one of our well-known teachers and buddies, Eckhart Tolle, and his thoughts about to finally awaken. We're going to start kind of off the bat on a very high note, why he's saying, if you want to awaken, you've got to forgive. And the reason that I felt compelled to use a particular video is because I saw on YouTube, I'm not even sure who the young man was, but he was advertising, you don't need to forgive. All this forgiveness for spiritual stuff is baloney, is where he jarred out on his YouTube. And of course, that pushed a button with me. It was like, oh, what is this guy talking about? I did not even continue watching him because he was just so opposite of what I believe when I teach. I didn't want to hear what he had to say. So I went back to my own process and belief system. And who pops up next but Eckhart Tolle? No coincidence, literally. It's a little example about, for me, when I go and ask spirit what's going on, it shows up when and where. And Eckhart having the perspective that I do of why this is so important. So let's go ahead and play that video. To forgive is what's needed to finally.
Does this person who did bad things to you still live in you? Even they might even have passed away already as a mental emotional entity that you carry. It's actually like a little gremlin. There's also the doorway into presence, of course, of totally accepting your experience of this moment. So if you can talk to whoever it is you're talking to and just totally accept whatever he or she says in this moment, that's fine too. There are various doorways into presence, but it's presence. So, or you meet your ex, as they call them. I'm meeting my ex about something. So all the stuff that happened, that accumulated before the divorce happened, all those years, it's back in your mind, and there's your ex, and you have a very clear image of who he or she is, and it's not pleasant. Your very unconscious ex, and and then you have to be really, really present so that you don't go into the old reactive mode. And then you're meeting this person. It's almost without the past. That's an amazing thing. Yes, you know the past, but in the moment of meeting that person, there's only you. There's not you as the personality. When you become really present, what emerges is the other half of you emerges more. The personality becomes relatively unimportant. The other half, the unconditioned presence, shines through. Then you're able to meet another human being. Even you might have share a lot of unpleasant past with him or her, but you can meet this person when the deep I shines through you. You meet the person through the deep I, which means you meet this person without reference to the past. You have that ability, well, not you as a person, but that ability is in you of meeting a human being, even a human being with whom you share a lot of unpleasant past without reference to the past. So you're meeting that person in the present, fully in the present. That's an enormous thing, and I know people who have practiced it, and many of them have reported back and said that sometimes, not always, and you're not doing it in order to achieve something else through it, it is sufficient unto itself. However, almost miraculous transformations have happened in the other person when you met the other person without reference to the past. So it's not that you want the other person to change, all that falls away. You're just not bringing the past into this encounter. And then it is not uncommon for the other person also, without them realizing what's happening, becoming freed, at this moment at least, from their heavy personality, and something beyond the personality in them also shines through. And that's a miracle of transformation. And that's why sometimes people, when one of the two who share a lot of unpleasant past, one of them becomes conscious, it can lead also to the transformation of the other. Not necessarily. If it doesn't, it's fine too. At least you are free. And so you don't need the other to be free too, to be feeling that you are free. And so it can also happen with your parents, that suddenly the way in which your parents relate to you changes when you meet your parents without reference to the past and in absolute presence. That's an amazing experience. So I suggest you try it out on. You have quite a bit of time to practice, and then Thanksgiving is still a long way in the future. And that's where to try it out when you sit around the big table. Well, that's for North Americans who celebrate Thanksgiving. So you sit around the table, and you basically, this is the past sitting around the table. Some people dreading it. Christmas too. Oh no, not because you're facing the living past. So it's a miraculous thing and again, one could say that is the real meaning of forgiveness. It's not so much a mental act, mental acrobatics that say, okay, you've done dreadful things, but I'm so spiritual that I forgive you. I forgive you. At least I'm trying to. At least I'm trying. You're not even trying. Why do I always have to be the first? It's always the same. You're lost again. So forgive you is not so much a mental, to formulate certain things in your mind and then trying to live up to a certain thought in your mind, which is very difficult, if not impossible. But the real forgiveness is to enter that state of presence so that you're not a personality that's conditioned by the past. And then you can meet the person, even the person who did something to you, if you choose to meet them. You don't have to meet a person who did bad things to you, but the question is, does that person still exist in you as a mind form, as a thought form, or a mental emotional entity? Does this person who did bad things to you still live in you? Even they might even have passed away already, but they live in you as a mental emotional entity that you carry. It's actually like a little gremlin that lives in you, and it's not pleasant. And so forgiveness means to recognize that for what it is. It's not really the other person anymore. The person maybe passed away 10 years ago. It's not the other person anymore. It's something you carry still in your mental emotional field. It lives there. And so that is, again, something to recognize. And if you recognize it as something that lives in your mental emotional field, then it's much easier to step back from it and by no longer getting drawn into it. So that's something to do with something that lives in you, and you recognize it as something that you no longer want or need. And then it gradually dissolves as you're no longer reacting against it. So you have you have a split in you. As long as it's there, there's that mental formation, mental emotional entity, and then there's another pattern in their mind that reacts against it. It's a bit crazy. But forgiveness then is really coming, meeting the other, if the other is still there, and you're actually now meeting them in person without reference to the past. People with whom you have a grievance, people carry grievances, and they actually like their grievance. The ego loves grievances. People that 20 years ago, he did that to me. 30 years ago. Dreadful thing he did to me. Oh, God. The ego loves grievances, but as long as you carry even one grievance towards, and grievance is a long-standing resentment. Resentment could be short-lived, but grievance tends to be a very long thing, goes on and on. At least that's how I define it. The grievance goes on, and you carry it in your mind. And even just one surviving grievance in you can prevent you from fully accessing presence, from actually fully awakening. It's a dark spot in you that prevents consciousness from arising fully. So you have to be really very careful that see what they do to you, and see that the addiction to a grievance is only what is addicted is your false. The personality derives, the egoic personality, the ego derives sustenance from the grievance and strength from the grievance. So if you harbor a grievance, that means that the egoic self is still operating. It is not you who is harboring the grievance, it's the ego in you that is harboring the grievance. So if you have a surviving grievance in you towards another person, you need to know that ultimately it's not you, it's the ego, it's still operating. So you can develop in other areas of your life, and the ego can remain in you, even can it attach itself. Let's say you're awakening beautifully, but there's one corner in your mind where the ego survives because it has attached itself to a grievance. And there can be other corners too, where the ego can attach itself to particular anything to do with the past. It attaches itself to a particular thing in your mind, and there it's waiting. And occasionally it can then, even in other situations, the ego can still come back more easily because it's there. It's still feeding on the grievance. So it's not starving. It's still feeding on this grievance that you harbor.
Wow, there was a lot in there.
Huge
So
amounts.
feel blessed, because you have been given by the master teacher Jesus of how to undo that. That's what the Course in Miracles is. When he said in the beginning, there are a few people And I would have to say with some people, I'm really good at doing this, where you can watch them. Of course, I put it in terms of theater. This is their costume, their mask they're wearing. And I see who they are, even though they have this mask on. When he was talking about people can stop, and even if somebody's doing, they can stay in presence. Okay. Most people can't do that because there's so much that's happened to them. So Course in Miracles is taking you to what Eckhart's talking about. How do we start looking at, without dwelling in the past, looking how it's all about us, no matter what they're doing. How are we perceiving? How are we responding? How are we reacting? Okay. You may have heard in there, he said very clearly, you can't do this on your own. And I know you've heard me say that over and over too. We have to reach in and ask for help to unpack, to undo, to erase, to release. We choose to release, that's true. But we have so much packed in that we don't even know that we're still replaying old tapes. Okay. So that's like the overall version of what, if you heard where we're going with why forgiveness is forgiving, it is meant for us to give. I wrote something down. I said, when I was writing, it's meant for us to give because God has only given us love, safe, peace, and joy. All of our errors and mistakes that are human are done because we forgot the truth. This is how we're able to forgive others, when we remember. As we look at ourselves, and can't read my own writing, something truths about ourselves. So the reason we can give on a very high level is because that's all we've been given. You know, when Jesus says, forgive them for they know not what they're doing, we give 70 times 7, we forgive 70 times 7. How do we do that when people keep hurting us or we see everything going on? But yet we're also being told that this is the way to find eternal peace, as Eckhart says, being awakened. I'm going to say to be enlightened, to be in that place of peace. We have to keep practicing forgiveness, letting it go, releasing it. Okay. So that's all of that busy up here in the higher realm stuff. What I'd like us to do now, and I'm going to ask you to bear with me because I'm going to take you through kind of a wash of how our brains have been conditioned, how we can look at ourselves, how we can release and come to that place where Eckhart is referring to, that we come to that center, that calm where we know it's not real and we can forgive, we can let it go because we're not attaching to it. We're not letting it rule our mind and therefore our actions. Remember, all of our actions come from our thoughts. Okay. So what I'd like you to do is use this next song. It's about 5 minutes. I want you to take a deep breath, 3 deep breaths, and I'll use it for your meditation. Listen to the words. You might be familiar with the words it's going to speak. And notice, when we're done, I'll see if you notice this particular phrase, because it has to do with forgiveness in this music that we're going to play. So get yourself in a comfortable position to relax. Open your heart, open your ears, and let's listen. Not to commune with Source, but to listen to the rhythm and the message of these words.
As we forgive those who trespass against us, and lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory
Give us our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Let's take a deep breath. And as you breathe out, open your eyes if they're closed. What, if anything, did you hear when you listened to that song, to that prayer? If you just got lost in the music, that's okay. If
Feel
you
like I get lost in the music, but this one in particular, the I think they phrased it, give us this day our daily bread. And I remember when we first started learning the real meaning of that, because I used to say that phrase in church all the time. I never really got it. And so that one made sense. And then it goes right into forgive us our trespasses as we forgive that. So that one didn't stand out as much this time as the daily bread one, but those were the three parts that stood out today.
I love that you said that, Jen, because it jumped out at me. I wanted to get into this dissertation about the meaning of that as giving us what we need. It wasn't about food or lack. Give us what nurtures us and enlightens us and feeds our soul. I think for the longest time, particularly when I was young, I thought, give us bread. Okay, we got to make sure we got food on the table. We take it very literally. Which is what most people do, is they take these beautiful mystical prayers and take them literally and wonder why they're not working. You know. Anybody else there? Thank you, Jen. I was right in line with you on that one. Jumped out at me, even though I was trying to focus on forgive us our trespasses, but that's the one that jumped out for me. Anybody else?
For me, I do get lost, of course, in the music, but also the words. It is very familiar, and but I kept thinking about performing Godspell, performing Jesus Christ Superstar, and how when those things, you're performing those pieces of that ilk, you are taken, you are operating on a whole other level. And I thought, here are these people that had this opportunity to take this text that we have all known and sing it in a way that is I there yeah, not a dry eye in the house. I would not have been done
It
through it.
transcends the words. You've heard
Mhm.
me say that you cannot teach spiritual truth by words. Jesus says words are symbols upon symbols twice removed. So, and I'll share a little bit later how these words are not what Jesus said. But it's what's been passed on and conditioned everybody. But as Helen said, the music, the artist, when we open our souls, that's, you know, I'm a little partial and I get snobby about us as artists. When you open the soul, I'm joking because I'm always teasing Jen because she's a crafts person, I'm an artist. So
Oh, okay.
um, when you let go, whatever it is, what we call it, ego, devil, whatever it is, and allow spirit to come through, then you get what we heard in the music. You just start, there you are. There you are. Yeah. Renee, what did it?
Mm. For me, it was mostly, I heard the music. I don't always pick up all the different words, even anywhere in conversations when there's too much going on. So I was more feeling it. But the three sentences that Jen said were the only three sentences I understood in the whole song, where I understood the words. Other than that, everything was just kind of all blurred together for me, which happens to me a lot. But those three sentences were the ones that were very clear. And I understood every single word that was said. So that, I guess, was the whole point behind it.
I love that, how the spirit was really focusing in for you, because those three sentences is what this gathering is about.
Right.
Yeah. So, and I've been meaning to talk to you about tuning me out when I'm talking to you.
I can't help it. It just happens, especially in a restaurant. In a restaurant is
Words.
terrible. All of a sudden, my mind just goes somewhere else. I can't. Then I know it's time to just go home.
Well, I just wanted you to know I'm not holding a grievance about it. I finally understand.
Yes, nothing intentional, I promise. So yeah,
Okay. So beautiful.
I didn't realize it was obvious.
No, it's obvious.
I do. I zone out. I can't stop it. All of a sudden, I'm gone.
Yeah, that's part of my curse and blessing, is to be aware of what's going on. So anyway, no, but this is so beautiful, because if you listen to all of us, how spirit was speaking, uh, exactly what we needed, and it's all connected, all so beautifully connected for today's gathering about forgiveness and why it is for giving, is because of what we've received. We've received love, and that's what we give. No matter what someone may seem to have done to us. Or Eric Eckert is not speaking mystically there. I mean, he is telling people, well, if someone's hurt you or treated you badly, he's not saying seeming. You've heard me use the word seeming a lot, because that's a reminder for you as students, and also me as a teacher, that it's not real. It seems to have happened. And trust me, I've had a lot of shit happen. So I'm not saying it didn't happen in this realm, but it's about releasing it, letting it go, so that we don't get stuck in it. Okay. But I want to focus a little bit more on the practical stuff. I want to take a moment about, and it's us. So I'm going to give you guys like 15 questions, and I'd like you to assess where you are in your process of forgiveness on a practical level. Okay, you game? You ready for this? Okay.
Sure.
So you don't have to say it out loud. You don't have to admit anything if you don't want to. But I'm going to ask these questions, and I want you to answer yes or no. I don't know if you have pen and paper, you can. You don't have to. You can just be in your head. You don't have to have it memorized. There's no grading or anything like that. But I just think it would be kind of a good way to assess yourself if you've really done some forgiveness work. Okay, you ready? Okay, first thought. Yes or no? First of all, I want you to think about a specific person or experience from your past that still seems to bother you and affects your peace of mind. Take into consideration the deepest, most secret thoughts and feelings you have regarding that person or situation. Wait, I think went away. Consider each answer and statement below with as much honesty as possible. Right? Yes or no? Thinking of this person or experience, I would like a different outcome with this person or experience. First of all, did I give you enough time to think of a person, or did it pop up? You don't have to say it out loud. Just, do you have somebody in mind or something in mind? Okay. Second thought. I still want to see some kind of retaliation or justice done for past hurt from this person or experience. Yes or no? Third thought. I have tried to let this person or experience go, but I'm still upset. Yes or no? Fourth thought. There are times when I think I will never be totally free of negative feelings or thoughts about this person or experience. Yes or no? Fifth thought. I feel guilty and I'm not always sure why. Yes or no? Next thought. I would generally prefer to avoid thinking or speaking about this person or experience. Yes or no? Next. I am occasionally surprised to still feel feelings of resentment within myself about this person, experience, and instead of dealing with the feelings, I shove them back down inside. Next, I have yet to tell anyone the full story of what happened with this person, experience because of shame or embarrassment. Yes or no? That means a counselor, a confided friend, your journal. I know intellectually that I would feel better if I could forgive this person or experience, but I am resisting taking that step. Yes or no? I prefer to just avoid the painful memories associated with this person or experience. Yes or no? Next, I still have feelings of sadness about this person or experience. Yes or no? In some ways, I have not been able to move forward because of the hurt, anger, or sadness about this person or experience. Yes or no? My trust in others and in life has diminished. My trust in God has diminished. Yes or no? And last but not least, I have difficulty forgiving myself because of what happened with this person and experience. Yes or no? So how you doing? If you've answered yes to any of those, you still got work on your heart getting healed. And don't feel ashamed or embarrassed, because most people, I don't know which question it was, most people just suppress it, shove it to the back and just keep moving on, and wonder why it keeps replaying in their lives in another form, another person, another situation. That's just what happens. So that's why, again, I was, saying to you guys, the blessing and the beauty of the teachings of A Course in Miracles, this is such a beautiful pathway that Jesus has given us to heal us from all of this so we can be free. It is this process of forgiveness that we are in the middle of. Okay. But before we got on, Helen made a comment. It was in reference to something else, but she used the word willingness is key in every aspect of your spiritual awakening, with forgiveness as the key tool. The fact that you are willing to even look at this or even listen to these questions that I ask and think about them and open your heart to, well, is this what's going on, is huge. That means spirit is hard at work getting rid of all this debris off of you so you can be free, so you can be happy, so you can have peace. Okay. We listened to the beautiful version of the Our Father, and I mentioned that the phrase is, give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass us. The actual Aramaic version interpretation of Jesus's prayer, that particular part, he doesn't say, forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. He says, loose the cords of mistakes binding us as we release the strands we hold of others' guilt. I'm going to say the two phrases, and I want you to feel the differences and tell me what you feel, okay? One says, forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. And the other says, loose the cords of mistakes binding us as we release the strands we hold of others' guilt. What is the frequency of those sentences? What is the feel of that for you? What is that like between the two? Can you tell the difference, or is there no difference for you?
The first one to me is almost accusatory, almost finger pointing. And the second one is very much the lifting, the loosening of the cords that bind. And yeah.
Yes. Beautiful. Jen, what did you feel?
I felt like one feels like it's being done to you versus the other one feels like you're an active participant in its release, if that makes sense. So the first one just feels heavy.
Love both of your thoughts. Renee, what did you hear? What did you feel?
The same thing. The first one, the thought that came to my mind was made me feel defensive. And then the other one made me feel free. So yeah, the first one is definitely a more negative connotation
Yes, yes,
of the words. Yeah.
yeah. Again, all three of you, thank you, because even before we got on and actually started recording, Helen and I got in a bit of a conversation about um, where was I going? About I forgot. I just lost the thought.
Willingness.
But it is about um, pointing a finger, directing, or generational. That's what it is. The first Our Father, which, think about it, it has been repeated for thousands of years, generation after generation, but it is filled with that vibration of accusation, of blame, of making you feel defensive and shame and guilt. So here we come along. The second one, the Aramaic version, Neil Douglas Klotz did studies for years. His Dance is the Universal Peace, which I was involved in a long time ago. But when he actually went to the Our Father, the Lord's Prayer, and repeated it in Aramaic, the translation had nothing to do with what was given to us as the Western Christian prayer of the Our Father. And you can see, again, you as course students, how the course is trying to heal your mind of guilt because we have been embedded with all of this false words, false teachings, and we wonder why we're miserable. So Jesus never said that when he was alive. He said the second one, lose the course of mistakes binding us as we release. Somebody else may do something wrong to us, but we're going to let that go. Let go their guilt. Okay. The laws of this world and the third dimensional world, you've heard of the laws of karma or sowing as you reap. What someone does to them is like a boomerang. It's going to come back and have an effect on them. It has on all of us. What you give out is what comes back to you. That's in the third dimension. In the dimension of heaven, there's no such thing because we only give love. And the only thing that comes back to us is love. Okay. So in Jesus's teachings, he's even teaching then, way back then too, no matter what they're going to do to me, I'm going to forgive them, for they know not what they're doing. Brought him to such a state of awareness and union that he was only the presence of God itself, which is only pure love. What an amazing teacher. What an amazing teacher. And here he is back in the Course in Miracles trying to teach again. Look, no, you misunderstand. This is what you heard. That's not what I said. This is what you've been conditioned. That's not what I taught. So you guys having, whether you had a strong background in Bible or church, it doesn't matter. The frequency has been sent out there. The frequency of guilt has been permeating planet Earth for a long, 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 long time, since the beginning of time. And I won't get on a sidetrack of quantum physics or what time. I know my mind goes, and I can tell you what that is. That's fun. Let's go here. Come on, come dance with me. It's fun. You'll like it. Stay the course. Okay. But my point is, again, you see how we've been influenced. We don't even know we have been influenced by guilt and fear. In the Lord's Prayer, for crying out loud. See what I'm getting at? So no wonder when we have personal things like the questions I asked you guys, that we're holding grudges and we're afraid to let go. Because we have that much to wash off of our brains. Stop it, Xander. to get a clear state of mind. So how did those questions feel for you? Were you embarrassed? Was it helpful? Was it like, oh, I got work to do, or yeah, I still have that, but I'm asking for help? What happened for you? What did you feel, Renee?
For me, just this last week, there's been some family issues going on, and I had to think about it for a long time before I responded to something. And everything that those questions brought up were things that I addressed in a response to a family issue. So it clarified for me that the perspective I had was on the right track.
Good.
And I've learned to let go of a lot of things that I would have held on to before. So it made me feel like I have progressed along my journey.
That's so beautiful. And there's nothing like it when you feel like, damn it, I've been trying to, now I'm seeing some breakthrough. Right? Doesn't that feel great?
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. Thank you for sharing that.
Mhm.
When we can get to the place where we thank them for being the teachers that opened us, that's a whole nother level. Don't even worry about that right now. Don't go there right now. Just enjoy. And it is important. It is very important to honor yourself and acknowledge the progress you've made. Because otherwise we feel like was it you, Helen, or somebody said just the other day, no, it wasn't Helen. Somebody else was saying, I've been doing this. I know. I've been doing the course for a year and a half and I haven't had a breakthrough. Oh my gosh. Or Helen, when you say 30, says, oh my gosh, welcome to the rest of us on planet Earth.
Mm.
So it is so important to be gentle and persistent and acknowledge your wins. You're doing good. You're doing great. Because the more you can acknowledge that, because as I've shared with you, and believe me, I'm good at this, ego loves to tell you how you've effed up and keep you feel guilty. Because then you spiral down. Then you can't be shiny because you're in darkness. So amongst the four of us right here, we're going to acknowledge how awesome we are that we're doing this. Okay. Helen, how about you? Did any of those questions or thoughts tick you off, or what did they do for you?
No, I was a lot of, I only had one that was a no. And that was question number 2. And then I had 13 and 14 that were maybe. And then I was like, yeah, no, if you're saying maybe, then it's a yes. But this is what I know, right? And this is what, like we spoke about earlier, this is that willingness. It's like, okay, yes, yes, those things are happening, and the layers are still coming off of certain things and certain people, and but it is coming off, and it is part of my work. So I'm while I still had oh, and 15 was oh hell yes. That's the answer to that one. So
Yeah.
so while I
Yeah.
you know, I can acknowledge it, but I also know that I'm trying to be better about not hiding it and not pushing it aside. I'm trying to go ahead and go, okay, can push it aside, but then it's going to come back later. So.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you on that. 15 jumped out at me with neon lights.
Oh, hell
Hold on
yes.
1 second. I got to get my plug. Hold on. I'll be right back.
Oh, okay, okay.
I had to look back to see what 15 was. I couldn't even remember. So that was one where there were like 3 that I wrote a little note because I was like, I don't know how I'm going to answer this. And so I thought, I'm like on the fence with some of that one. I was not on the fence, but for whatever reason, I wrote it down. I was like, that's what happened on the fence.
Okay. I don't remember exactly what it was either, but I know I wrote, oh, hell yeah.
It was difficulty forgiving self.
Oh,
Forgive-
yes, that's
yeah.
the one. Ah, yeah. Oh, hell yeah. It's so funny. It's so funny.
Yeah, it's like, I'm teaching this stuff. What the hell? What is that? Physician heal thyself, or
Yes, yeah.
oh damn it, I gotta do what I'm talking about? What the hell?
How can
How
that
could
be
that-
right?
How could that
Oh.
be? Somebody interpreted that wrong. Yeah, so but when we can um again, sharing this with us, we're at a level of consciousness, and I don't mean to make us sound elitist or better than. There are certain people that they're still in denial. They would never even be ready to look. Okay. And as we go along, whether it's your family or someone has students or clients coming in, our job is always to see them as God made them. But that doesn't mean we throw common sense out the window. And we listen to spirit. And it sounds like, Renee, you've done that beautifully. How you respond, when you respond, you wait for spirit to guide you. Whereas before we may have wanted to, and I think maybe I'm generalizing too much. Most of us have this big heart where we want to help everybody and want to heal and make everything all better. So we get overzealous about fixing things or directing people or telling people how it should be and if you do it. And it's quite a journey to learn how to give them just a little bit and let them do what they need to do, to let go, right? But our intention as spiritual healers, and I'm putting you in that category because you're studying A Course in Miracles. This is spiritual healing work, okay? To look at people and know that there is only love, that God only made love, is the path of teaching that there's only one of us, there's only God, and there's only love in many different shapes and sizes, but they're all God. If they're displaying anything but God traits, they have forgotten the truth of who they are. It's that simple. That seems so easy, doesn't it? It's that simple. The truth is that simple, but very complicated as we're doing the unlayering and the undoing. So as students or people that are spiritual healers, I'm going to ask us to today's lesson. We're going to use today's, because we're all course students here tonight. Today's lesson was, I am determined to see blank or experience differently. So we did that assessment about a certain person or situation. And I'm just going to repeat today's lesson. I want you to think of that person. Allow yourself to go in and ask Holy Spirit to say these words in you. Okay, close your eyes. Get that person, place, or thing that you were doing the assessment on. We're going to ask Holy Spirit, and with conviction, I am determined to see blank differently. Or I am determined to see this situation differently. Just sit there for a moment. So while you're there, I would like Helen, if she would be so kind, to put the song in by Netta Boyne, where she talks about we can't, it's from the Course, it's taken from passages from the Course. We actually can't do this without asking Holy Spirit to help us see how God does this, to see it with the eyes of spirit, the eyes of love. So while the music is playing, think of this person or situation and let yourself get lost in this music.
Delynn, the next one was the forgiveness learning. So which song is it that we're going to play?
Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Oh, I skipped one, didn't I?
Yeah, forgiveness, not learning, learning not to take it personally.
You know what? I don't know how long that is. I don't know how much time we have. It's 6:15.
It's about 10 minutes.
So let's just pass that tonight
Okay.
then.
Okay.
So let's go to the
Thank you.
song. Thank you for, I forgot. Thank you.
It's okay.
I can send that link to you guys separately. You can look at it.
God doesn't forgive, for he is never condemned. Forgiveness is the great need of this world. It is a world of illusions. Fear condemns and love forgives. It undoes what fear is produced. Returning the mind to God. God is the love, God is the love, in which I forgive myself. God is the love, God is the love, in which I forgive myself. God is the love, God is the love, God is the love, in which I forgive. No fear is possible in the mind, beloved of God. There's no need to attack, 'cause love is forgiving me. Forgiveness is the means by which I will recognize my innocence. Oh, God is the love, God is the love, in which I forgive myself. God is the love, God is the love, in which I forgive myself. God is the love, God is the love, God is the love, in which I forgiveness is reflecting God's love on earth. It will bring me near enough to heaven that the love of God can reach down to me and raise me to my heart. Oh, God is the love, God is the love, in which I forgive myself. God is the love, which I forgive myself. God is the love, God is the love, God is the love in which I forgive.
So I'd like to move right into the thought of how do we forgive ourselves. We ask very simply to do it. Ask Holy Spirit to help us to forgive ourselves and to see it differently. I'm determined to see myself differently. There is a beautiful mantra or practice in Hawaii called Ho'oponopono. And the words are, thank you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, I love you. I don't know if that's the right order, but. And the first time I ever heard that, I thought that was something to give to somebody else when they wronged us or we wronged them. And I needed to say, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, and I love you. Thank you, meaning that by becoming aware that I made a mistake, I can change and grow, I can get better. But to always leave it with the words that I love you. Okay. As time went on, I realized that I was talking to myself. I'm sorry that I didn't make a better choice. I'm sorry that I was coming from a place of fear and not love. I'm sorry, please forgive me. I thank this situation so I can learn and grow. And I love me. It's a lot of times I don't tell myself I love me. I go, you stupid idiot, you should know better. And the third time I thought, well, am I talking to God? I'm sorry, please forgive me. Thank you, God, for giving me everything I need. And I love you. But then I realized God doesn't, that's kind of like a love story, an old-fashioned movie. Love means you never have to say you're sorry. We don't have to say you're sorry to God because God doesn't condemn us or judge us. But guess who needs to say we're sorry? Not even to God. That whole prayer is to ourselves. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I didn't know better. Thank you. Thank you for being willing to learn and grow instead of shoving it down and saying, I didn't do anything wrong. It was their fault. Not that you did anything wrong. All of us do a lot of stuff out of ignorance or conditioned behavior or beliefs. Like I used the example of the Our Father. We do things out of darkness. So as we become awake and aware, we have more opportunity to feel that lightness and that freedom and that joy. That is what God has promised us to have and what we are. So what I would like to do, there's this beautiful song. It's from Ho'oponopono from Hawaii. It's called the Freedom Song. And I'd like you this time to listen to it and just take it in and say this prayer to yourself. Go ahead, Helen.
please forgive me, I love you. I'm sorry, please forgive me, I love you. I'm sorry, please forgive me, I love you. Please forgive me, I love you. I'm sorry, 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 please forgive me, I love you.
So we come back to full circle that forgiveness is forgiving to ourselves. We started this off with Eckhart going from when it's a personal situation, going into the higher realms of understanding. When we understand that we're one with God and we are the extensions of God, and when we forget that we are only love, we act like human beings. We have mistakes, we have errors, we have miscreations. So we learn how to forgive ourselves, not judge ourselves, not criticize ourselves, to let go of the self-loathing. We ask for guidance about how to deal with people that are unconscious or unaware or not awake, with compassion, wisdom, and sometimes the tough love of walking away. But it never is about them, it's always about you. The forgiveness is for you to be given all of the love that God has already given you and has given everyone. You notice the song was a repetition over and over and over. I'm going to encourage you, all these ladies here, that when we beat ourselves up, when we make a mistake, or as you're studying the course and you're going, I'm not getting this, it doesn't make sense. Stop. Sing yourself that lullaby. I'm sorry, please forgive me, I love you. And add the thank you that you're so willing to do it. That takes a lot of courage. So I would like to close tonight with a very beautiful song by Ashana that talks about the height of awakening when we realize there is nothing to forgive. We may seem to be far away from that place because the stories seem to be very real and front and center in our lives. But by doing these practices of the Course or letting yourself sing this lullaby to yourself, that's Spirit talking to you. Calm down, my child. I love you. Okay. Or even before we go into the song, taking that person or that situation, I invite you to close your eyes and hold that person or wrap your arms around that situation. Stand with it in front of the light. Walk toward the light. Become immersed in the light and disappear in the light. Even for 30 seconds, what the Course might call the holy instant, that's what that is. You wash away thousands of years of learned behaviors and condition. Pretty amazing. The twinkling of an eye, that's what that is. But by your willingness to take it there, to not shove it down, to expose it and say, here, this isn't what you created, this is what I created. Dissolve it for me so I can feel your radiant love and light. And then I can see there is nothing to forgive because all there is love. So I invite you to listen to our last song for the evening by Ashana. All is forgiven. Thank you for going to heaven with me for a while tonight.